I'm Tim Kittro, and here to bring home the bacon are Big Ryan the Fat Guy.
I know you know the drill. What's going on, guys? It's Big Rye coming at you with the NFL picks against the spread for Week 5. Fat Guy is with me, too. Fat Guy, who cares about all this stuff? We are 48% for the season. It doesn't matter. On to Thursday's night's game. LA Rams at the Seattle Seahawks. Plus 1.5 for the Seahawks at home. 17% of early bettors are on the Seahawks, who are coming off of a win. The Rams coming off of a loss. What do you feel is going on with this game?
What do I feel is going on?
I don't know.
That's one thing that we're trying to avoid is what do I feel? What do I think? And oh, they can twist it around. Oh, you don't think. No, I don't want to follow my emotional thought process. I don't care about my emotions or yours when making these selections. That being said, I think there will be future value on the Rams. At this early line, maybe there is some closing line value on like a Seattle money line play. But in the contest, we're going to take the Rams, and you got to think too. It'll be flip flop a little bit. Seattle had an impressive road win, and the Rams had a really disappointing home loss. So what does that concoction entail? Usually a little bit of public money on Seattle, which is unjust because I think this 1.5 line is almost even undercutting. I think the Rams are a better team, right? And again, you're not supposed to think, but numerically. People like I feel that the Rams are better. I guess using our system, let's call it. And most of the early bettors agree with 83%. And you have to think who's betting at what is it? It's before 5 o'clock on the Pacific time on the Sunday. These are really early lines. So how what type of volume are you looking at, Big Rye?
It's going to be like 100 bets so far. Like there's really not much. It's exactly 100. So I'm Nostradamus.
There you go. Perfect. Yeah, 100. So 83. So technically, you have 83 bets are on the Rams. Those are generally sharper picks, and yeah, this line is probably going to move, I would imagine too. But at some point, I think it's going to go down a little bit, and then you'll be able to get a better price on the Rams. I like the Rams this week. I'm going to lay the 1.5 points, but when I do actually bet them, I'm going to try and get a better price because I think the public money will shift in Seattle's direction because of their good performance. Nicer recency bias on Seattle. Give me the Rams, lay the points in the contest, bet them later at a better price.
And now we have a neutral field game in London between the Jets and the Falcons. Falcons are 4-point favorites in London. We have the early 9:30 a.m. Eastern time start. Fat Guy, what are your thoughts on this game?
I think this is going to be an Atlanta play. I think that's, but again, I think I can get it at a better price. Same thing with the Rams. So a closing line value might actually be on the Jets, oddly enough. But I think getting the Falcons at like -3 would be a nice price, and I think it's going to get down there. I think are people rushing to the windows to bet the Jets? No, but think about this way too. A lot of the public money will be via parlay, and they might be okay with taking the 4 points. I mean, they took 6 with 6 to 7.5 against Tennessee, and they're going to do this like cross mersion type. That's not even a word. Osmosis type mental gymnastics that Atlanta is. I mean, Atlanta shouldn't be favored really over anybody, right? And perhaps they shouldn't, but I think at like -3, -2.5, there's going to be a value on Atlanta. I probably won't rush to bet this game, especially not at this price, but I do think it's going to trend in the Jets' favor, and I do think the line could get down to 3. And if it goes to 2.5, I'm definitely going to bet. Purely a contest pick, Atlanta Falcons.
Osmosis mental gymnastics is definitely going to be a JS715, at least honorable mention next week. Next up, onto the regular 1 p.m. Eastern time games. First off, we got New England at Houston, who are 7.5-point dogs at home. Fat Guy, these lines aren't even out at Pinnacle yet, so these lines could differ quite a bit from what we have here from some of the other books.
Well, the reason that I like New England in this spot is Houston can't look worse, right?
Yeah.
So no one's going to bet on Houston. Nobody really. Like maybe some pros will, but why would they wait? Public money will come in on New England. Now, New England hasn't played this Sunday night game yet. So you have to think like this kind of happened to us last week. Like we liked Philadelphia only because I figured the line would move if they had a good performance against Dallas on Monday night, and they did. So then the line moved against them. So realistically, if you bet this early, you're kind of betting that New England A finishes healthy and B has a reasonable performance, right? Because if they get blown out, like people are just not going to be as jazzed on this game. But you're going to be really hard pressed to find someone to bet Houston. You just are. I mean, this is the thing though. The number's 7.5, but like, you give us 13.5, we'd easily take Houston. It wouldn't be a question, right? 10.5, I'd take Houston as well. I feel like equilibrium should be about 9, right? So maybe there's a 1.5 of value potentially, but I think the closing line is going to be like 9.5, maybe even 10, because you got to think like where, like the book can't just take huge exposure on Houston, and you don't really as a sports book, you don't really want to take exposure on a really bad team. Like you end up doing it, but you usually have a really large cushion. I don't think this is enough, 7.5. So as far as closing line value, I think this is a buy now, and New England minus 7.5 is nice. Because I think too, what if New England comes out unscathed? And like I said, you generally don't want to bet on teams before they play in a look ahead line. But if they do come out unscathed and they're able to put up a good performance, maybe even win, even though that's probably what a 33% chance that they beat Tampa Bay, then this line is going to skyrocket, and this 7.5 will be awesome. Like it'll be a really, really strong line. And then also too, you might be able to middle and get Tampa Bay, or get Houston rather, plus a lot of points, and there'd be a lot of key numbers in the middle of. So for now, this is a buy right now, like literally right now, probably before the game. New England minus 7.5.
Yeah, just to add on, we do have bet percentages out now. So ever since we updated this, currently 87% of early bettors are on the Pats, and that's in 100 bets. So pretty similar to the Rams Seahawks type of market. Fat guy, on to the next game we have between the Miami Dolphins, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So same thing. Buccaneers are playing. They're literally minutes away from kickoff. There's 103,000 bets placed so far, which is in the top 2 or 3 as far as number of bets. So many people are watching this game. So many people have put money on this game in Tampa Bay, on Tampa Bay, really. So what does that do with a line like this between Miami and Tampa Bay? Tampa Bay 9.5-point favorites at home.
To use an economic term, it makes it elastic. That like you're going to have a lot of top heavy emotional bettors on a game like New England, Tampa Bay. Like it just is. It's a storyline game. So people are going to draw firm conclusions from this one game, which is completely illogical, right? So if Tampa Bay blows them out, they're going to think that Tampa Bay is, they're going to repeat as Super Bowl champions. If Tampa Bay loses, they're going to say Brady's washed up, or Belichick is some masterful mind game. All that's nonsense, realistically. There's a probability of a win, probability of a loss, and I bet you the line is very sharp for that game. That being said, how does it affect Miami, Tampa Bay? Well, if you're betting right now, there is a chance Tampa Bay could get injured. And 2, what if Tampa Bay loses? There's a chance that this line could be affected. They could be less favorites. Because even though, think about it, if Tampa Bay is healthy and they play this week, and they're healthy and they play next week, they have the same roster, nothing should change. The result of the game shouldn't change anything. But people think it's like a great reveal of information. It's not. The information's already there, right? The sample's never going to be large enough to make a firm conclusion about a team. Some teams get unlucky in a season. Some teams get lucky. It's just a part of it, right? And I'm not saying Tampa Bay is a lucky team, which I'm sure you have to be to win a Super Bowl, right? And not saying Tom Brady isn't lucky. He is, but he's also excellent, right? So that being said, the pick's just going to be Miami, even though I think that Miami is more like, it's less likely that people are going to pile on Miami. It's not like they did really well against Indy, but not that many people are paying attention. So we're just going to take Miami in the points. This is a completely chalk pick for me. You could argue there's closing line value, but this is a look ahead line, right? So a lot could go right. So I'm going to soft pencil in Miami because there is a chance of a Tampa Bay injury. And also too, like a Tampa Bay injury is more devastating, like considering the type of player pedigree they have. Whereas like, I did pretty much the reverse in New England, but like the gap between Brady and whoever the backup is, I think Blaine Gabbert, is probably far wider than Jarrett Stidham and as the backup to an injured Mac Jones or something like that. And I can't even think of another player in New England that would get injured that would move the line, whereas there's plenty of like star power on Tampa Bay that would affect this on defense as well. So you do have that going for you in a look ahead line. But then again, like I said, it's not like people are going to rush to the windows to bet Miami, but it might make people abstain. Also, this was always an argument I had too: was is Tom Brady like Tampa Bay? The better how like the bettors have only found success, the public bettors, with Tom Brady. So like he's beaten the spread every year that he's played, and like considerably too. As far as memory goes, but I'm sure you could nitpick it, but overall, like it's really strong. So those types of financial ties do make him kind of an immortal among the square betting community. So there, it makes me like whoever he's playing against because the line's inflated. So again, the pick's going to be Miami, and a lot of how this line is going to fluctuate is predicated on this performance tonight.
And the biggest thing with this game is it's Jacoby Brissett's second revenge game in a row, but I don't think that matters. On to the Philadelphia Eagles at the Carolina Panthers, who are 4-point favorites at home. Fat Guy, we don't have any betting information even on looking live here, but how do you feel about Carolina as 4-point favorites at home?
I like Carolina as 4-point favorites. I think this is an easier play. It's not huge value, but I do think there is expected value on Carolina. Positive expected value if you do get them at reasonable juice, -108 or lower. So this is a quick one for me. I like Carolina laying the points, and even though I think the perception of both teams is kind of neutral, like Philadelphia, you lost to Kansas City, big deal. Pretty much everyone does. They're probably the best team in the NFL. Carolina, you fought against Dallas and you lost. So I think the emotional perception of teams is neutral. No do-ups, no do-downs. I don't mind laying the points in this spot with Carolina.
Fat Guy, on to the next game. Detroit Lions at the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings are 8-point favorites at home, and I've got some new information here. 66% of bettors are on the Minnesota Vikings with 88 bets placed so far.
Yeah, that's not going to deter me, though. That's pretty even. 8 is kind of a key number these days, more than usual. I like this price for Detroit. Minnesota is probably a little bit neutral. Detroit has a bit of a black eye, but I don't think you're going to have people rushing to the windows to bet Minnesota. I like this price right now at Detroit 8, and I think this is a buy now. Because think about it, it's just a professional football team, 8 points. Detroit has had pretty good effort each game. Execution is obviously a different thing, but they're not like a total dumpster fire. 8 points is well within a reasonable amount for them to win a divisional game against Minnesota. Not win, cover. Winning would be nice, but cover. So I like Detroit and I like the 8 points.
Fat Guy, next game is Tennessee at Jacksonville, who are 7.5-point dogs at home. 7% of early bets are on the Jags. Who you got?
Middling alert. Here you go. Buy the Jags right now. Because think about it this way. Tennessee bettors are going to be sour. And when they add, when money's going to be bet on this, I would guess that in a lot of parlay tickets, people wouldn't mind taking the Jags plus 7.5 points. The Jags coming off that Thursday nighter, which had a lot of eyes on it, that's going to give them some sort of positive feedback. And then also to think of Survivor. Let's think of that also. You have to think, what I always do is think of where the public money is going to go, which creates an inflation bubble. And how can I take advantage of that? And Tennessee, that's going to sour people. They lost in overtime to the New York Jets. That crushed, I don't know, I don't have the percentage in front of you, but that crushed a lot in Survivor pools I was in. Lots of them. So Tennessee isn't going to be a hot bet, I don't think, today. So even if I'm wrong and the line goes to 8 or 8.5, that's not that big a deal. This is a huge half point. Jacksonville plus 7.5 is definitely a play. I actually like Tennessee to cover this in like a rebound. Like I actually think it's a little bit low, but that we're betting the number in terms of like there's a good chance at a middling play, because if this gets down to 6.5, even with not that good juice on Tennessee minus 6.5, because that happened with the Jets. It opened at 7.5 last week, went down to 6 closing. You had to pay extra juice on the 6, or you could sell the hook from 6 to 6.5 and get decent juice, and you could middle the number on 7. So why I'm doing this is I think you should bet Jacksonville right now, and then if it comes down to Tennessee minus 6.5, there's your bet, and hopefully you get good juice on both, and then that means the push frequency of it number landing on Tennessee by 7 will supersede the juice that you would pay. I should do a video on it, probably a members only video about how to do a successful middle, because you have to prorate the juice between both. And usually the early line, you pay more juice. That's just the way it is. Anyways, Jacksonville plus 7.5 is the pick. It'll be a contest pick, and I'm going to bet it solely for the purpose of attempting to get a middle, which seems to be more possible this year than any year I can remember. So Jacksonville plus 7.5 to get a middle, hopefully on a Tennessee minus 6.5 shift.
And I just want to put a nice plug out for ourselves. Fat Guy put out a very excellent arbitrage bet video for members only. So guys, $5 a month. There's so much value in the membership. As Fat Guy takes a sneaky sip. On to the next game, Denver Broncos at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers are 1.5-point dogs at home. 42% of early bettors are on the Steelers. Both these teams coming off a loss. Fat Guy, who you got?
I feel the same way about this as we did Washington, Atlanta last week, which I felt was a coin flip game, and I feel the same about this game. We're just going to take Denver. And there is no science behind this other than we're biased towards Denver, like we were Washington last week. It's a quick one. I actually want to watch this game, to be honest. What's the OU though? If you got that in front of you.
I see 40.5. I see 42.5. I could give you a more accurate number.
Really?
In just a second.
My guess was going to be 39.5. There is an issue though, because maybe the Teddy Bridgewater thing isn't concrete. He'll probably be back, but he did miss a considerable amount of the Baltimore home game because of a concussion. And Drew Lock played, so that would actually affect the line. That being said, this is purely a contest pick. I'm going to take Denver, but I at a thought, I like under 42.5. I think around 39.5, 40 seems to be right in my head. But this is it's not scientific. It's purely a contest pick. I'm going to take Denver.
41's the most accurate number I see as far as
there you go.
OUs
Consensus 41.
Green Bay at Cincinnati. Cincinnati 3-point dogs at home. Fat Guy, we have 96% of early bettors on the Packers in this one. 138 bets placed so far.
I like the Packers. I don't think that they're getting respect on their name, and this line is inflated because of Cincinnati's success. And Cincinnati had a primetime win, and you almost forget that they didn't cover against Jacksonville because it was so emotional to come back. It's an emotional victory for everybody.
Yeah, so they were I think they were plus 240 starting the second half. So to people it feels like a big upset or a big win.
Yes. When in reality, when in reality they didn't even win necessarily. Somehow it's like a moral victory for parlay bettors. Well, at least they won the game. They didn't cover, but I was close. That's not how any of this works. But it's just how they justify it. I think there is value on Green Bay -3, and I could see a line shift. Because Green Bay traditionally and Aaron Rodgers, they have just the public sentiment. So I think it could shift to 3.5. So I just think there's going to be closing line value. And I think there's value at the number 3 in addition. So Green Bay -3 is the pick.
Fat Guy, next up, Saints at the Washington football team. Washington football team is 2-point dogs at home. 11% of early bettors are on Washington. Who you got?
I like the Saints this week. Saints -2. Now, we're going to do a little gambling on gambling, as I like to say it. I'm hoping that this finishes around a pick, and Washington gets a little bit of they're not a popular team, though. That's the one issue. But it's not like New Orleans is going to have poor recency bias, because losing to the Giants is a big black eye. It really is, at home, no less, right? So, I mean, if there is any sort of sentiment, there's a chance that they could go with Washington, right? And New Orleans, they do have that one upset against Green Bay in week 1, which is kind of carrying it. But there's, I think this will be maybe a public neutral, and I think there's value on I think it should be New Orleans -3, to be honest. But if it goes to -2.5 and I'm wrong and it doesn't shift down, then I'll just buy. Then I lost the half point of value. Big deal. 2's not that big of a number to land on. New Orleans by 2, so I don't mind losing that half value. Gambling that I could go down, because if it goes down, I could get New Orleans to win the game at even money. I would really like that price. So I'm not going to be betting this at this price, but I'm going to wait to see what the market does. But if it goes to New Orleans -2.5, I can't risk it going to 3, but I'll closely monitor it, and I'll still take New Orleans at -2.5 But the target price is New Orleans at even money to win the game. Maybe minus 102, minus 103. I might cave.
All right, Fat Guy, on to the next game, which is the Bears-Raiders. So in Las Vegas, the Raiders are 6.5-point favorites at home. We don't have any betting data yet. Who you got?
We got to go with the Bears here. I mean, 6.5 points. I think this is too many points, and Las Vegas still has to play tomorrow. This is a look-ahead line, I guess, technically, against the LA Chargers, and I think that that performance could negatively affect this line, and they're underdogs to begin with. And I also like the Chargers, giving me another reason to think that the Chargers' performance, a big Chargers win, could shift the line. Conversely, a big Las Vegas win could move the line, but I think it's more likely that the line comes down to Las Vegas minus 4.5 than anything. So there's closing line value, I think, on the Chicago Bears betting this early, in addition to an injury. Although I'm trying to think of what the big injuries would be for Las Vegas. It's got to be Carr or bust. I mean, there's a pass rusher or two that I think it's plausible, and maybe a cluster of O-line injuries, but I can't think of their quarterback's going to be the main one. And even then, like, the gap between who's it, Mariota and Carr, I don't think is insanely massive, right? So it's one of those things where, like, you even if it did happen, it's very unlikely for there to be a huge shift, but it's still a free roll nonetheless, as we call it in the poker world, a free roll. You know, only bad things can happen to Las Vegas, right? Whereas Chicago is at home already. So I like the Bears at this price point, 6.5. And I think this line, which is malleable because it's a Monday nighter that's going to have a lot of eyes on it. I want to watch this game. I was wearing a Raiders hat earlier. I like the Chargers as a kind of an unsung team. So we're going to take the Chicago Bears and the points in this look-ahead line.
And just to add on, I think that injury to Carr would actually be a bigger deal publicly to public bettors because Mariota is injured and Nathan Peterman would be starting at quarterback.
Whoa.
So that would be a much different scenario. And I think Fat Guy and I would love the Raiders at whatever price they come down to, assuming that the line comes down. Either way, Fat Guy, on to the next game. Cleveland Browns at the LA Chargers. The Browns are 1-point favorites on the road. So the same as their Minnesota line. So Chargers, Browns, Minnesota, I guess you can do the osmosis mental gymnastics that they're all about the same strength, I guess you could say, or at least the Chargers and the Vikings.
I had full Browns gear on today, and I said I wore a Raiders hat earlier. I don't know why I had it on, but somehow I switched in between, and I chucked it off. It's a little weird to wear the shirt and then wear a Raiders hat. Doesn't make any sense. This is my favorite Brown shirt. It's really beat up. It's like 7 years old. You got to love stuff like that. That being said, oddly, I just want to be a fan this game. We're just going to pick Chargers in the contest because I think that they're less heralded than the Browns. I want the Browns to win just as a fan. I don't have any insight into the market or where I think it's going to go because I don't like even a Chargers blowout. I don't think they'll shift the line. Maybe if the Chargers get crushed, Cleveland will become the favorite. There is this possibility though, is if you took the Chargers, if you were able to get them on the money line at plus money, this is an arbitrage opportunity, and you bet the Chargers to win at, say, let's just put a hypothetical number. You bet $1,000 on the Chargers at plus 102. Do you have the money line in front of you, Big Rye?
Yeah, I'll take a look and see what it is.
So let's say you bet them at plus 102, and then they get they have a huge victory, and public starts backing them, and Cleveland becomes the dog at plus 104. Well, then you could bet $1,000 on the Browns at plus 104, and then you're going to guarantee yourself either $40 or $20. You know, with like an expected value of 30 roughly. So you couldn't lose. So like the thing is, you have to have a crystal ball though, and you have to know that the line's going to move. But this is an arbitrage opportunity, and there's been a few of them so far. Again, I think this one's a lot less likely than the other ones, but this is possible. So what I would do is, if you're interested in that sort of idea, is you just bet the Chargers money line, and then potentially the market could shift against Cleveland, and then you might get Cleveland at a plus point. But it's also possible too with local books. Like if you were in if you lived in LA and people bet, or San Diego, for instance, where the Chargers used to be, you could probably locally get Cleveland as an underdog and then bet the Chargers as an underdog as well, right? So that's always possible. Those weird things, I was able to take advantage of some of that stuff in like my really early 20s with I knew a guy that took bets in Calgary on hockey, and I lived in Vancouver, so I knew a guy in Vancouver too. So he took local bets, and all you had to do is you could pull it off when they played. Not always. It'd have to be really similar in strength, but it was possible. So to give you a real world example, local bookies and stuff like that, I don't always advocate because none of this is financial advice, of course. But this is an arbitrage opportunity. I was going to go really short, but I wanted to posit this idea because we did plug the membership and I did make a video on exactly this type of behavior. Moving on, Chargers and the 1 point.
Next up, Fat Guy, we have the Giants at the Cowboys, a divisional matchup here where the Cowboys are 8.5-point favorites at home. Both teams coming off of impressive wins. Who you got?
Chargers 8.5. Pretty simple here. I like it at this price point. I wouldn't want it to move.
You said Chargers 8.5, so just clarifying.
Giants.
Okay,
Giants.
making
Giants.
sure.
Still got Chargers on the brain about that arbitrage opportunity. So the New York Giants plus 8.5. I think they're going to get a little bit of betting relief, the Giants, because they were able to upset, not just cover the spread. So that's going to go a long way. Dallas has been a bit of a public powerhouse the last few weeks. So I would imagine that they're going to get some money on them as well. It's probably going to be more so on Dallas than the Giants, but it won't be lopsided. So I don't think that there's going to be any large gap in recency bias. So I think 8.5 points is slightly too many. It's not that I think, it's that the numbers tell me so. Like I said, thinking is dangerous. Giants plus 8.5.
Fat Guy, next up, San Fran at Arizona. Arizona 2.5-point favorites at home after their impressive win as well. 85% of early bettors are on the cards. Who you got?
Well, here we go. It's another one. Arizona. Well, only because it's 2.5 now, and I think this could have legs. This could move. The public's going to be strong. Arizona beat a top 4 team, in my opinion, on the road, no less, in a divisional game. And San Francisco lost a divisional game to Seattle. So the recency bias is definitely swung. There's going to do some, I would imagine that a lot of the talk shows will do early Kyler Murray MVP talk, early Cliff Kingsbury Coach of the Year talk, and those types of storylines, and it'll get batted into people's heads. I didn't see any like super crazy play, which is usually I don't know why this stuff even matters, but people do. This is what sticks in their brains. So Arizona beating the Rams is a big deal. And I can't think of another undefeated team other than Arizona. I mean, obviously I'm sure there is. Oh, Las Vegas as well. But that's all I can think of now that I look through everybody. And, that's another storyline that'll get brought up time and time again. So I think the recency bias will be high on Arizona. The talking points will be high. It'll give people confidence to bet Arizona. They won't think laying 2.5 is very much. So why am I betting on them if the public's going to go this way? Because I think they'll shift the number, So I think it'll close at Arizona minus 3.5, giving me a lot of closing line value and perhaps a middling play on San Francisco plus 3.5. So I think this is a middle alert as well. And 3 is a stronger number than 7 in terms of the Jacksonville, Tennessee. But you also have to take into account the over under. So you could make a case, this is a weird math thing, that Tennessee, Jacksonville is going to have a lower over under than San Francisco, Arizona. So the points are are at a premium in Tennessee, Jacksonville. I know this would be another video I'm going to totally make for the membership. But you have to think the over under, let's call it 44 for Tennessee, Jacksonville. How many combinations can you come up with Tennessee winning by 7, right? Going from there's obviously 7-0, which would be the least. And I guess we could go 41-36 or sorry, 41-34 something, or I went way too crazy on that. 24-17, for instance, right? That's a way more likely one, 24-17. So you kind of graph them out, right? And it's since the points are less, there's more ways that the score can play out and the numbers become stronger on lower over-unders. So that's why you could make the case that that's a better middling opportunity. But nevertheless, 3 is a more common number to land on, and there is that opportunity that you will get that middling opportunity, that middling spot here. With Arizona, like I don't see how this line's going to move anywhere but against Arizona. So if you do like San Francisco, just wait till the death. But I for closing line value purposes and potentially middling purposes, I'm going to take Arizona -2.5.
And I'm going to blow your mind right now because Pinnacle has put their lines out. So for the contest's sake, we're going to keep it at 2.5. Our pick is Arizona. But Arizona opened at -4.5 at Pinnacle. And you've also been on the right side of the Giants, which opened at 7.5. You've been on the right side of Jacksonville, who opened at 3.5. So that line moved a ton compared to some of the early lines that we saw. You also won on Carolina, who are 4.5. And you lost out on the Jets, who moved down to 3.5. And the only other line that moved was Washington to +1. So those are the ones that are out so far, Fat Guy. On to Buffalo at Kansas City, -3.5 on the Chiefs. And just as a spoiler, the Bills are now 3-point underdogs currently at Pinnacle.
Oh, I was just gonna say that. So we didn't use all of Pinnacle's lines because they weren't out yet. They just came out, like Big Ryan mentioned. So doesn't this tell you, like, look at this little exercise. Like, all the choices that I made were at different books that came out with early lines, and I haven't won them yet, but I picked all, like, I went 4-1, and like some of them were massive. We have Tennessee here is, you say 3.5 point favorites.
Yeah, they opened 3.5 at Pinnacle, so 7.5 at some other books, down to 3.5. I think largely due to people seeing Tennessee's offense and how it performed with some injuries.
So yeah, so look how good Jacksonville 7.5 is now. That's crazy. So this is the power of early line betting, and it's not like I'm some sort of wizard genius. It's just all you have to like. This is how you make money sports betting, more or less, too. The limits are a lot lower, and you do have to work with a little bit sketchier books. That's for real, but it is doable. It is beatable, and closing line value can be had if you bet early and you bet often, I guess. So that being said, we did pick Kansas City, but I was gonna say I like Kansas City even at this price, but I think that the sentiments Buffalo's got more of a public push around them, and I think the perception of Buffalo is better. 40-0 is a ridiculously strong win in the NFL, even against a very lowly Houston Texans with a backup rookie quarterback. 40-0 is a statement win, whereas Kansas City is vulnerable, falling already to the Chargers in addition to the Eagles, and distant memory that Buffalo lost to Pittsburgh. So the mental gymnastics is still hard, and I still think that people are going to be more likely to put Buffalo with the points than Kansas City. So I do like Kansas City, but I want a better line than 3.5. So this is purely a contest point pick, and I'm really hoping to end up with Kansas City +2.5. That being said, if you were savvy enough to get Buffalo +3.5, you might be able to get another middle opportunity. But again, the over-under is going to be really high for this game, so the points are less valuable, and there's way more combinations of scores. So the 3 will become less of a landing point, KC by 3, because of the high OU. So purely a contest pick, KC -3.5, get a better price.
And then just to clarify, the Chiefs have beaten the Eagles and the Browns. They've lost to the Ravens and the Chargers.
I didn't say that.
It's okay. You'll see on the video later. On to the Indianapolis Colts at the Baltimore Ravens, who are 6.5 point favorites at open. Fat Guy, we don't have any betting info. I'm going to just double check to see. The line has opened up at Pinnacle at 7.
That's, we picked Indy. We liked Indy. I would have said, considering Baltimore's impressive victory, beating the undefeated Denver Broncos, that line would shift probably. And it has, It sucks. Why don't you tell me afterwards what I was doing? I would have went 7-1 on these line shifts, you jerk. It to jump in there. I would have been very proud with that, getting closing line value 7-1. Anyways, Indy plus 6.5 is going to be the contest pick. In real life, I like Indy plus 7.5. That's the price. I probably wouldn't bet the game. until I got that price, because I don't think I could beat the juice. But Indy plus 7.5 would be the real life price if we get positive juice on the 7.5. That being said, purely a contest pick, Indy plus 6.5.
All right, Fat Guy, on to the lightning round. We'll start off with Rams at Seattle.
It's Rams.
Jets at Falcons.
Atlanta Falcons.
Pats, Texans.
New England Patriots.
Miami Dolphins at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Miami in the points.
Philly at Carolina.
Carolina lay the points.
Detroit at Minnesota.
Detroit in the points.
Tennessee at Jacksonville at plus 7.5.
Plus 7.5. Everyone should take the Jags and the points.
Denver at Pittsburgh.
Denver lay the points.
Green Bay at Cincinnati.
Green Bay -3.
New Orleans at Washington.
New Orleans, maybe a better line.
Chicago at the Las Vegas Raiders.
Look ahead, Bears.
And Browns, Chargers.
Look behind, Chargers.
Giants at Cowboys.
The New York Giants.
San Fran at Arizona.
Arizona, middling opportunity.
Buffalo at Kansas City.
Kansas City, better price in real life.
Indy at Baltimore.
Indy, better price in real life.
Fat Guy, the week 3 leader was Detroit football with an impressive 12-4 record. And then we're going to take a look at the week 4 picks against the spread leaderboard. Congrats to Testy Saku Koivu, CSK, as well as Bravo Billy, all 11-3 going in to the Sunday night and Monday night games. So good luck to all of you. As well as a shout out to Couldn't Cut the Mostert, Mr. 57, the a tease here, but the overall leader in Colty Boy 69, Little Jags, Addie's Daddy, Pride, and Daddy. Congrats to all of you guys at 10-4. And then Fat Guy, the overall leaderboard, Colt Boy, 41 wins in 62 games. Really, it's 41 out of 60. Good for 68%. Very, very impressive. So shout out to Colt Boy. Any thoughts on the leaderboard?
Just watch out for Cassone.
That's a good point. All right, Fat Guy, on to the JS715. Name of the week, honorable mentions.
Never nominated. How did this get in there? Well, sometimes you ask and you shall receive. Never nominated. The Seahawks D guard the White House. Fat Guy guards the Peace Arch border. Well, I don't want to dox myself, but it's close to home, let's call it. The Bitcoin going down like my weekly picks. Not this week. Have you looked at it? This is a banner week for Bitcoin. Banner week. Oops, I thought you were supposed to pick the team that didn't cover the spread. Well, yeah, I guess a little bit of fading yourself. The good, bad, the New York Jets. Need we say more? I guess not this week. They did break the streak. Arbitrage for beginners. Again, I will plug the membership because I put out an arbitrage video again. In the future, one man is the law. In the future, one man is the law. Judge Joe. Maybe he's referring to Joe Judge of the New York Giants. Maybe Judge Joe Brown, a daytime favorite. IB6, UB9. You get where it's going.
This is the JS715 Name of the Week. Whoa, kaboom!
My father's been in a red Chinese prison for the past 14 years. We're not a political channel, so I'll just leave it at that.
Make your picks against the spread for week 5 at BigRyanTheFatGuy.com. There's also going to be a link down here in the description. There's a 100 USD prize in Bitcoin to the regular season winner. Fat Guy, that's it. That's week 5 in the book. Picks are in. You got to feel really good about being on the right side. Yeah.
CLV all day. Crushing.
Yeah, closing line value all day is what the Fat Guy is saying. Good luck to you guys in your week 5 picks.